When I reflect on like my whole life, you know, the hardest thing I ever did was probably leave the corporate world.
Hi, it's Stacey, Berger here, transformational coach in life and business, and I am here today with Yvonne Kuchta, and we're going to be having a conversation about her story, some of her successes, failures, lessons along the way. So thanks for being here, Yvonne.
I don't know, I'm excited.
Yeah, so you and I got connected a number of years ago, and I reached out to you. I was just always inspired by your energy and how you showed up in the world. And we got connected at the time. You were really focused on building a business in network marketing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you and I have in common is coming from a corporate background. So maybe just tell us a little bit about where you were at. Take us back into where you were in corporate and what it was like to leave that and transition out.
Yeah, well, we have a lot we could talk about, right? Because we do have this common sort of corporate background, and our paths have crossed in like our different spiritual journeys and love of nature. So yeah, it's exciting to connect today. I grew up on a farm girl, and ended up in the corporate world. And I really loved it. Like, it was exciting and glitzy and all those things. But eventually did a transition into network marketing. And in network marketing, I have learned so much about sales and marketing, and really loved that industry, but also like loved the egg industry and the equipment industry. And so kind of fast forward to today, I've taken, re-evolved myself and taking that love of marketing and really helping businesses in the equipment industry mostly bring their, improve their marketing and bring their products out to people. So that's what I've been doing these days, besides walking in the bush and doing yoga. And as you know, I'm a self-improvement junkie. That's why I follow you.
So talk about, there's so many people who are maybe in a job that they've liked, they've even loved or passionate about. There's lots of people who are stuck in a job that they don't like and longing for more, longing for something different. So was it easy to leave the corporate world?
Yeah, no, I think when I reflect on like my whole life, the hardest thing I ever did was probably leave the corporate world. Which is a strong statement. But not only have I transitioned through that, but my husband also. And I don't want to speak for him that it was the hardest thing that he did, but it wasn't easy. And I don't mean it wasn't easy to go and like start a new business or become an entrepreneur, but emotionally, like our identities are so entwined with our job titles and our salaries and our significance with a group of people, whether it's small or large. And rewiring your brain when you go out on your own is not a small feat. Yeah.
I remember that. I was, for so many years, I'm the general manager of this company, and that's how I identified myself. And so when I left that, there was this like, well, who am I? And so much of that self-image and like you said, the significance was in that world. And so I don't know if you felt that, but there was almost like this loss of self or identity. It's like my whole community, we talked about that, was no more, right? There was a real feeling of isolation too. Looking back, do you regret that decision?
Oh my gosh, no. I know that this path is not for everybody, entrepreneurship or, working for yourself, but I think I'd have a hard time going back to that lifestyle because I so value being able to create with the own sort of cycles of my own energy and rhythm. And especially when you're doing, any sort of creative work, or for me, like it's more like the writing piece of my job. There's times when I'm like really receiving like sort of downloads and like, oh man, like I can just push out work. And there's other times where like there's nothing there and I need to go for a walk. So I really value having that ability to flow with my own energy.
Yeah. How long did it take until you replaced your income?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, I'm sure within 2 years I was over it.
Yeah.
I remember hearing I wanted a raise, which I felt that I deserved. And I had a meeting and I was very explicitly told I would never make over $100,000 a year. Like that will never happen for you. And I don't know if that's the glass ceiling. I don't know what it was. But anyways, whatever. I just remember being like, really? Like I've worked so hard And I was just told, like, just so you know, that's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Yeah, not maybe. It will never happen. And it was also in that moment where I was like, okay, that's never going to happen here, but I feel like it's going to happen. So it's going to happen somehow. Yeah. Yeah. And actually that was when, that was my first sort of dip into working with a coach too. It was like in that transition. And I have to tell you the story. I don't know if I've ever told you the story, but it's super funny about the first coach I ever worked with, which was I actually called this woman to sell her a product after I had left my corporate world job, right? And she wasn't interested in buying what I was selling, which was fine. But she said, hey, would you do me a favor? I'm becoming a coach. Would you do 3 sessions with me? Like to, you know, as she had to like document it through her practicum or whatever. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like this is 3 hours of my life I am never going to get back, right? And it was 3 1-hour sessions. And those sessions changed my life. And like it opened my eyes to like, why do people work with coaches? And how do you get support when you are growing and changing? And how and really that support was vital for me. And I've worked, you know, with coaches, as you know, ever since, because it was such a huge piece of helping me transition.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. Crazy story, hey? Yeah, I was just like, fine, like I'll do this because maybe she'll buy something from me. And it turns out like it was so life-changing, totally changed my life.
Going out on your own, what were some of the kind of early struggles and pain points of that?
Yeah, you know, like I had really good success in terms of, you know, the money and the growth. That all came easier. But I think what was harder was figuring out, like, what did happiness look like now? And it's easy when you are successful and things are growing to just let that become everything to you. And I think one of the things that happened for me was I realized that how I had defined success was just like so fleeting when I really got there. It was empty. And you might remember this, like I achieved this huge goal. It was 2018 and something, you know, I never thought was even possible. And it was, you know, I was so excited to achieve it. Literally like at 8:00 at night on this certain day. And then by like 8 a.m. the next morning, you were empty again. Like you were like, okay, what's next? Like it was never satisfying. It never filled the hunger. And so one of the things I really had to like work on is like, okay, well, what is happiness now? Like if it's not a bunch of people that I'm significant to or saying, you're great, Yvonne, what is it? And it wasn't in the money or the trips or it wasn't there.
I love that. And so often we think, well, once I get that goal, once I achieve that thing, then I'll be happy or feel fulfilled. And it's never about that because we've always got a new goal, something else to accomplish. And so enjoying the journey, not just the destination, it's a great expression, but it's actually the truth.
Yeah.
How have you redefined happiness and success?
Well, this is just going to sound so simple and silly, but like if I can do yoga every day and walk in the bush and still get my work done and earn money, like I just feel like I won the lottery. Like seriously, like yeah, I just fill my calendar differently now, where I used to never turn down any opportunity. Now, like what comes first is the things that I love and making sure that I'm there when the kids get off the bus. Actually, I just ran into this research where they studied people's performance. And so it was IQ and like all sorts of things, cognitive ability, reflexes. And then they kept them for 24 hours in like a situation where they couldn't be angered, like nothing to upset them, ate well. So their nervous system was really good, right? And then they retested their performance, and their performance raised like 30% across the board. Kids, men, women, didn't matter, like education.
Yeah.
And it explains to me that all this stuff that you teach, the reason it's so critical is so that when you do sit down to create or perform or contribute, put your gifts in the world, however you want to put it, that you'll be at your best.
Absolutely. Well, and we think, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to go outside. I don't have time to do these things. But it's when we take the time to do that, like you said, that productivity and the joy and the fulfillment increases so much. So flipping that priority.
Yeah.
Yeah. What difference has that made? You have 2 kids. What do you think has been the greatest influence in all of this and impact on your kids? Would you say what are you teaching them?
That's a good question. Yeah, you know what, like, what's the saying? Like, more is caught than taught, right? Like, I just hope that they're watching, how we live. But because my husband and I both work from home, Rob's business is also, in our yard site. They literally see, like, they witness interactions with customers and, with the equipment that Rob works on every day. And so I think that I would hope that they're just picking up these other pieces that we can't even quantify.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. I so appreciate your love of nature. So you said spend time in the bush and time outside, and I've actually done a nature bathing session with you, or is it
forest bathing?
Forest bathing.
Forest
That's
bathing.
What it is.
Yes,
Forest bathing. Talk about some of why that's so important, and just the nature and the connection.
And it is interesting because I love business and marketing, but I definitely have this pull to connect with nature.
Yeah.
And share that.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, I do love it on my own, but I think nature has this ability to ground us and soothe us in such profound ways.
Yeah.
All humans, like, there's no exceptions.
Yeah.
And so when I take groups out, like you were part of, to the forest and provide just an opportunity, really, nature's doing the work, but an opportunity to sit and be calm in nature. The impact is so huge. So that's why I love to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so easy. We live on an acreage. You live on an acreage, so we're surrounded by nature, and it's so easy to take that for granted and think that everybody gets that. But it's amazing how some days I'll go, oh my gosh, I haven't been outside for 3 days, right? Like, you just from one place to another, and so when it's not as accessible, to really take the time to do that.
Yeah. And so this forest bathing is just really a passion project for me. And I do have a bunch of them coming up. I'm doing at Kiwi Nurseries this summer. Okay. And it's good for me too. Like, I know it's good for the group, but it's really good for me. So.
Well, and I would say I teach what I teach just as much for myself as for everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. And I get just as much out of it as the community, because you get fed in the same way, right?
And you're always, like, one of the things I appreciate about your work is that you're always bringing new things forward. So you're always learning.
Absolutely.
Right? And I just love learning about things, so.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, one of the things on my bucket list is to go to India. And my vision is traveling the world and just walking in the footsteps of some of the great spiritual teachers, and to continue, like you said, to learn and to feed myself so that I'm able to bring that out into the world. So you were just in India not too long ago. Would you share just a little bit about that experience? Yeah,
so India for me was never, like, on my bucket list. Honestly, I don't know geography well. I didn't even really know where India was. Like, when we got there and I was like, Afghanistan is right there. Like, I think if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have bought the ticket, just because of what we see on the media about, these things. But I was inspired to go because a yoga teacher that I've worked with for many years travels there all the time. And when she comes back, there is something different about her. And she just has so much more depth and beauty to offer us that I was always like, something is going on when she goes there. And there was a whole group of us who were like, we want whatever you're getting in India, we want to be part of. And so we went, and it was incredible. I think that what I wasn't expecting was, so first of all, I think I had this idea that people were doing yoga and meditating all across India. Not really the case. Like, there's a specific area in India where this is really happening. And once you go to that area, which is the base of the Himalayan mountains in northern India, it's like entering sort of this vortex where there is so much, such a like a raised vibration. And you go to that place, and it's sort of like a horse with blinders on. Like, suddenly all of the, I don't even know, like, anger, frustrations, or your gripes about the world just disappear, because the whole focus of these people who have developed this level of spiritual awareness is on the beauty. No matter their poverty or whatever, that's just the focus is so clearly on, the wonder of the world and the divinity around them. And you immediately move into that place. For me, I certainly did. And from what I hear other people do too, because it's not uncommon to go there and literally never go home because it's such, there's so much peace about it.
What did you bring back from that experience?
I think one of the things I brought back was the level of devotion of the Indian people, whatever faith they are, there's lots of faith practice there, is so beyond anything I had ever witnessed before. And so when we're like, oh, I should meditate every day or do yoga every day, and maybe we even make an effort towards that front, and we really feel like that's a big effort and that we're probably pretty special because we meditate every day, like really the level, these people are going into caves for months at a time and translating like the vibrations of nature into wisdom for all of us. But yeah, there's an extreme devotion. And so I think what I brought back was just realizing that there's so much more room to deepen my own spiritual practices or connection with the universe.
I love that. We were in Bali this summer,
that looked
and
amazing.
Very similar experience where it's not I pray or I meditate and then I go into my day.
Yeah.
That is the day.
That's so it.
Right?
Yeah.
The ritual is in everything. And it's living from that oneness, not just something to do and check off the to-do list. It's really living from that. And that's certainly what I brought from that experience.
Interesting.
Too.
And so you're in Bali, I'm in India.
Yeah.
And having similar experiences. And I think that's the other thing that was really clear in India is like all these spiritual teachings around the world. I've studied lots of Aboriginal stuff from Australia. Like, it's the same message.
Same message.
So pick your country, pick your book. Like, there's a deep, profound message being offered to us.
Absolutely. Well, and I say that all the time. The truth is the truth is the truth. Mm-hmm. So you'll just hear it in different forms and different voices, but truth is the truth is the truth, right?
Yeah.
And so it's finding what resonates with you and connecting to however we connect to that, right?
Yeah.
If it's in the bush, if it's in prayer, meditation. Okay, so we're making it sound like life is wonderful and everything's a success, and you and I both know that that's not how it always is. So talk about failure a little bit.
Yeah, and I think rejection is probably like how it lands most often for me and what I've had to work through. And if you're involved with sales, it's just like par for the course, right? Yeah. It's just part of what you're going to eat every day. But one of the things I've really put time into thinking about is how long does it literally take us to get over being rejected, right? And like what is the price we're paying for not having skills to handle and work through a failure, right? So here's an example. Let's say, and I had this happen, I presented this company, this idea, and not only did they say like, we're not going to do it, but they were also like, we're not going to do it, and here's all the reasons we don't like it. And what came up for me was my triggers, like anger, like these dummies, like, they don't know anything, like how could they be so stupid, right? And so whatever, so 6 hours I'm kind of feeling like crappy and angry. I'm venting this to my husband. I need to have some coaching support on it. And essentially, let's say on a minimum, it was kind of a big one, like wipes me out for 2 days, like mentally, right? Yeah. And so let's say if you're in sales and you face rejection twice a month, which would be amazing, right? And you're wiped out for 2 days every time. That's 4 days a month, times 12. Like that's a significant part of your year. And so one of the things I've like really dove into is like when I'm feeling that, how can I get through this faster? And the only way through it faster for me is by using like the tools, right? Like tools that you learn from great coaches. Of course, supporting myself. And so when I am aware enough to know like I'm in this place, I'm in shame, I'm feeling rejected, I'm feeling like a failure, I'm feeling like an imposter, I'm over my head, whatever, all the things, right? And then going, okay, I know I'm feeling like this. How do I get out of here? Because I don't want to spend 2 days here like that's a disaster for me.
Yes.
And then, reaching out, getting the help, going through the tools of thought processes or whatever it's going to take. Listening.
What's one of your go-to tools?
Definitely the whole model of how am I feeling and bringing that up. Like I feel angry. That's a common one for me, right? And when I feel angry, then what do I think? Oh, I think that those guys are dumb, that they don't know anything, right? Because I'm projecting out to them. And then I think and I start to go through all the things I might have done wrong. Like I shouldn't have done this or I should have done that, da, da, da. And then I go into self-loathing. So then I go, okay, what do I want to feel is my favorite question. So I want to feel calm. I want to feel trusting that the right clients for me come along. I want to trust that the universe has a divine plan. So I go through how do I want to feel and what do I need to think in order to feel that way? I need to think that, that company is going through their growth the way they want to. I'm learning from this. And I need to think that there's other customers that I'm working with, that are other projects that are unfolding. And so I just keep going through that cycle. How do I want to feel? What do I need to think to feel that way? And get support, right?
Yeah. And eventually the feelings follow the thoughts.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to consciously work yourself through that.
Yeah.
And it's because I work with salespeople. I just go if you don't have ways to handle rejection, you're giving up 20 days a year of self-loathing income.
Yeah.
So would you rather not make the money for those 20 days or figure out some way to get through rejection so that you can get back in the game?
Yeah. Well, it applies to salespeople, but it really applies to all of us, right?
Yeah.
Anytime we're feeling that feeling. So for a salesperson, it could be income, but you're also going home and feeling that way.
Right.
And so the impact on family, connection, lost opportunity, all of that.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't love not feeling good.
Yeah.
And so when I don't feel good, I'm okay, what do I need to do? I need to get to a yoga class. I need to drink some water. I need to get my tools out.
Yeah.
I need to ask for help. I need to get in a coaching group, whatever, because I don't want to stay here.
Yeah. You know what's so great though is that it's so great about what you're talking about, but what so many people don't even have is that they don't even recognize they're not feeling good.
Right.
Because there's not even that awareness that I could feel differently, right? We just accept that, oh, this is the way life is. I always feel this way, so this is normal.
Right.
And so much of society has normalized feeling bad.
Well, and funny you say that because one of the things I remember, the kids were little. I was working like a dog in the corporate world, and they were sick all the time. My marriage was suffering so much, and somebody said, "That's just life. This is the phase of life you're in, right?" And that's what they truly believed, and so then I was like, really, this is just how it is. It's this shitty, and then it was shortly after that I was like, no, that's not just how it is.
Yeah.
We can do things. We have to do them, but we can do things to dig ourselves out of that hole.
Were there any major defining moments in your life that were those catalyst moments where you said, it's time to do something different, or maybe vision was born, or can you think of some defining moments?
Well, I remember this conversation I had, it was probably 15 years ago, and I was lamenting about how much I was working and, and kind of how I felt like that was a bit unfair, which I'm sure most people can identify with. But I was sharing this with this man who was a smart guy, and I think I was looking for some sympathy or a pat on the back, oh yeah, you're a real rock star, right? And he just looked at me very matter of fact, and he said, no one is going to create boundaries for you. Nobody's going to come along and create those for you. And I was like, what? I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But years later, I was like, oh man, that was so true. And it is up to us. Nobody's coming to save us. And so if we want to have the ability, I know I do and you do, is to have time in nature every day, we're the ones who have to put that in the calendar.
Yeah.
If I want to go to yoga every day, I'm the one who has to buy the passes and schedule it in. Nobody's going to come along and be like, Yvonne, you might be happier if you do this. Here, let's make sure it happens in your day. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even having a coach can't actually book the yoga class for you, right? But it can empower you to make those decisions. But ultimately, no one's going to do it for you.
So yeah, I think it was like that calling of the power back of being like, oh yeah, this is my life. I am the one responsible for if it's a failure or a success.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah.
What role, you mentioned a little bit about the role of coaches and launching into the business, but what role have coaches, mentors played in your life? Or, just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking the other day, do you have an e-bike?
No.
Okay. My husband bought an e-bike. He does not ride it. I'm the one who rides it all the time. And so I went for this e-bike ride, and I was like, why am I even on my e-bike? Like, I don't use the e-assist that much because you can turn it on or off. And I have a regular bike at home, which would probably be a better workout, right? So I'm like, why am I even using this e-bike and not my regular bike? And I was like, well, I was thinking to myself, well, it really helps on the hills, right? Just gives me a boost. And, I can maybe go a little further than I would normally go. And also when I think about like, oh, I'm going to go for a bike ride, I got the e-bike, so it's okay if I don't, have enough energy. I have some help. And I was thinking coaches are the same way, right? Like they just help you get a little further. Yeah. They help you when you maybe don't, aren't quite having the motivation to get yourself going. Like it's just a little extra boost, help you on the hills. And so that's how I look at mentors and coaches, is that like they just do help you go further, especially when you just need some support.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I believe so strongly in that. And I think so many people think I have to do it on my own. Should have all the answers. I should have this thing called life figured out. And I know for me, my coaches, my mentors, if it was in business, if it's been personally, right, it's been a game changer. So I think it's so important to recognize that we don't have to do it on our own.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody in any genre of life being successful without that type of support. Yeah. Like we're humans, we're wired for that sort of connection, right? And encouragement. Yeah.
So you mentioned achieving a big goal, and it was fleeting, right? And you probably worked a long time to achieve that. So what's next? What are you excited about right now?
I think that for me, when I think about like Yvonne in the future, I don't know what the projects will be because that seems to be really changing. Like if you're listening to this now, what I'm working on, right now could look really different 3 months from now. Yeah. But what's exciting to me is that those pieces that I know set me up for success, which is, my spiritual practices, my community, my personal growth, my time in nature, as those deepen, I feel like surely my work and my creative output and my contributions to this world are improving. Yeah. And so, I'm not sure like what the tangibleness of that will look like, but I just feel like it's going to be better because, the experiences are just the experiences are deeper as we go, right?
I love that. I love that.
So who knows?
Yeah, exciting. But it's going to be good.
Yeah, I do sort of know it's going to be good. And also like, man, the twists and turns of life, and I think this goes for most people's lives, are different than any of us could expect, like nobody can plan how things are going to turn out. But generally for me, I feel like it's been better because you don't sort of know what's coming next. And so it is like a bit of an adventure, right?
Yeah. I am so glad you came today and that you sat down. I feel like we could talk all day, and I just appreciate who you are in the world and just knowing that you inspire me as I'm watching you, and I just know that by means of you living your best life, you're inspiring lots of people about what's possible. So thank you for being that light.
Oh, thank you for reflecting it. Yeah, no, and we should do this way more often. Without cameras or otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here, and to you, thank you for watching. I hope that you're as inspired as I am by Yvonne and her story. Here is to you living a life you love.